If I look or sound a bit sick and run down, it's because I am. I have a 2025 goal video planned, but today I really want to focus on my reading goals because I'm doing them a little bit differently this year. Every year for the past many years, my goal has been to read 50 books. I was very excited to achieve that last year. I didn't think I was going to make it, but I ended up exceeding that, reading 52 books in 2024. However, only 24 of those 52 books were new to me. That leaves 28 of them that were rereads. That is more than 50%. I don't like that. Don't get me wrong, I love rereading books, clearly. There is so much comfort in revisiting the stories that we love, but we have a finite amount of time in this world, and I'm already stressed enough about all the books I'm never going to be able to read, so I feel like my time would be better spent not rereading the same 5 books on repeat. We also have the issue of my physical TBR. I tried to put my arms up and show you, but they were too low. My physical TBR. I'm sitting too low for this. It's getting out of hand. I started making a spreadsheet for my physical TBR, and in the hour I was working on it, I barely made a dent. As of my count this morning, I have 91 unread books, some I have had since 2014, plus all my classics. That is a whole other problem because I keep buying secondhand classics despite never having finished one. I've never read a classic other than the plays I had to read for school, but this is a problem. Another issue, we're just full of issues today, is that I barely did any reading with my eyes in 2024. I love audiobooks and I consider them real reading. I think that's frankly very ableist if you don't. That's a whole other conversation that we are not having right now. But I love audiobooks. I listen to them all the time, but I miss the act of physically reading. I miss the routine of reading. Last year, of my 52 books read, I read 4 of them with my own eyes. 2 were graphic novels, and another one was less than 200 pages. It was great, by the way. This Is How You Lose a Time War. Incredible book. It was so little physical reading, and I really miss it. Most of the reading I did with my eyes in 2024 was done on AO3. For the uninitiated, AO3, or Archive of Our Own, is a fanfiction website. I read so much fic last year. I was truly in the trenches of a fandom in ways I haven't been since I was 15 years old. It was so much fun, and I read so much incredible fanfiction, but it definitely led to me reading less published fiction. And my fanfiction reading wasn't unaffected by my tendency to rely on audiobooks. Podfics were constantly playing. A podfic is essentially an audiobook of a fanfiction, and what is probably worse, I spent almost every waking moment with my phone on text-to-speech reading me fanfiction. I never let my mind have a break. It was constant input, so much so that when I didn't have anything playing, I felt wrong and bad and would impulsively put my earphones in to turn on text-to-speech on my phone. You swipe down with 2 fingers, and I found myself doing that instinctively. It was bad. So what does all this mean for my goals? Well, my goal is still to read 50 books in a year. I think that's a good number. It's achievable. It takes a bit of dedication, but it can be done. But I have some other goals that kind of overlap, so let me explain them and then we can really dive into it. So, number 1, read 50 books. Number 2, read 50 books from my physical TBR. And number 3, read for an hour a day. Some of those may seem redundant, but in my head it all makes sense. I want to get through 50 books. I think that's quite self-explanatory. It's a number goal. 50 books, easy, cool. I want to read 50 books from my physical TBR. However, I don't have to read them all physically. I've gone through about half of my TBR and found maybe 13 of them available as audiobooks from my local library. Listening to those audiobooks will count to my 50 books total and will also count to my 50 physical TBR books. Okay, are we following? Cool. The last goal is simple. Read for an hour a day. Originally it was read for an hour a night, but I really want to move away from the habit of reading at night because a lot of the time I get into bed to read early and I just want to go to sleep. I am a very tired person all the time, and I think relying on evening time to read is going to lead me to not read much. I'd like to find other times throughout the day that I can read, potentially the mornings. I usually wake up and spend an hour just scrolling on my phone, and that isn't great. So if I could swap some of that time for reading time, I think that I would probably be much calmer as a person. So those are my 3 official goals, but I do have some unofficial ones too. For example, read a classic a month. Will that happen? Probably not, but it would be cool if it did. I had this kind of unofficial guideline in my head of only listen to 1 audiobook a month. That doesn't feel very realistic for me though. The last unofficial goal was to only reread 1 book a month, so have 12 rereads only in the year, but I was quite set on that goal until I realized I'm currently doing a reread of quite a big series for a potential video. I don't know if that video is going to happen. It was meant to happen last year. There was a whole thing. But doing the rereads for that video would already exceed my reread limit for the year, and so it's just not very realistic. Potentially I could do some kind of goal where it is 1 reread to every 2 new reads, but I don't know, and so I didn't make that a goal because I think I just need to let it be. Aim for more reading new books, reading physical books, but also allow those rereads and those audiobooks to happen. I really don't want to withhold stories as some form of punishment, so I'm just gonna leave it be. But yes, my core goal here is to read my physical TBR with mine own eyes. I'd love to talk about books on here more. I used to all the time. This was a booktube account, but I've been making more sewing videos lately and I'm really enjoying that. Let me know what you think. Should I have a separate channel for book related stuff? Are you okay with just ignoring the things you don't like and watching the things you do like? I don't know. Tell me what you think. A little reading update 1 week into the year. How was my reading going? I have already listened to an audiobook. It's one I had started last year. I finished it. It was a reread for that big reread series I'm doing. I am halfway through the next book. Also an audiobook, also a reread. I have read a few chapters of a classic. It's happening. I did start this classic like 2 years ago, but it's happening. But yeah, I am hesitantly optimistic about this coming reading year, but those are my 2025 reading goals. So let me know what your reading goals for 2025 are. Do you have a TBR pile made up of books you've collected over the last decade? I'd love to hear about it. But that's all from me today. You can like this video. If you liked it, you can subscribe to see my future uploads, and I will see you next time. Bye. Okay, I'm gonna go cough up a lung. I will see you next time.